Hello, and welcome to December De-Stressed and Documented. Today's prompt video has already been posted and it is to pare it down. And so the prompt this time was to take something off of your holiday list and just not do it and see how the holidays go. And so for me, I'm choosing a really big one, and it doesn't have to be a big one that you choose in order to follow along with this prompt. But I am actually not doing my Christmas village this year. So what I'm doing right now is I have printed up 6 tiny little pictures of my Christmas village from previous years, some of my favorite parts of it, and I printed them all up at 1 by 1. That's 1 inch by 1 inch on my Epson Picture Mate charm, and then I just cut them all down with my Creative Memories little tiny trimmer. And now I have the Hip Kit Christmas Document December kit, and it has that little tray. I have that little tray of numbers from the kit there, and then I also took a flare that says December Story. So I'm going to use the numbers from that little heart-shaped tray on each of my days that I document. And now I'm just having a look through the 3x4 cards that come in the Hip Kit. That is the December Documented Hip Kit. And I found this one that says, what does it say? Such fun memories. That's what it says. Sorry about that. And immediately noticed that that card is just not going to be big enough. And so what I think I'm going to do is actually have this spread be like today's documenting, cover 1 4x6 card and 1 3x4 card. And so the Hip Kit comes with these really beautiful 12x12 papers. And so I'm going to take this one and cut it into some 4x6 cards, because the kit doesn't come with any 4x6 cards. So I'm making my own with this beautiful pink and white stripe paper. And now the kit comes with these beautiful stars. They're quite dimensional, and they're not something that I would have picked myself if I were shopping for Christmas supplies. That's one of the beauties of belonging to a kit club, is that you get to try some different things. And I'm just playing around with some different ideas of how I might be able to use these on the outside of my album. I don't think I'm going to leave it there. I don't love it there. I also didn't love those 3 lined up below, but maybe if I had moved them up a little bit, they might have looked okay. So I'm still going to play around with that, but that's what I came up with for now. I do really like them, and I like the idea of using at least one of them on the outside of my album. So I'm going to cut another piece of the 12x12 paper. This is my favorite paper in the whole kit. I love this paper. And so I cut it just a little bit smaller than 4x6 so that my pink and white striped paper could be the matte, and then this beautiful bokeh paper here with the wood grain background will be most of the background of this card. And then I'm going to line up the photos the best that I can. And I want them to look kind of casual. They're all different. They have different amounts of white border on them to make them look kind of casually, like they were cut out really quickly, which they were. So I'm going to use these Oh Joy letter stickers from Pink Fresh that came in the kit. And so I'm using some wax paper just so that I can play around with my placement of my title. The title is going to be No Village, because there won't be a village this year. That's the thing I'm giving up. And I actually feel good about it. And I talk in quite a bit of detail in my prompt video why I decided to not put up my village. I have a very large village, and it is a big endeavor every year. And so I'm going to not do it for a year and just see how it goes. I do kind of miss not having put it together this year, but we'll see how it goes. My plan is that I will definitely put it up next year. So it's not like it's gone forever or anything. So I'm going to set up these photos just like this, kind of haphazardly, which is kind of my original idea, was to just put the photos on there haphazardly instead of in a grid or in any sort of symmetrical way. So I'm just looking at some of the other embellishments that came in the Hip Kit Club kit, and then I'm also pulling out my Freckled Fun Very Merry kit. And I like that joy, but I don't think it's going to work on this particular page, but maybe it'll work on the next one. And then the acetate pieces just kind of fell all over the place, and I had to pick them up and put them someplace different so that I didn't lose them. So that's what that was all about. I'm just putting them into my tray so that I can remember that I have them. And so I'm just playing around with this, and the joy is not going to fit vertically on a 3x4 card, so I'm just going to hold off on using the joy for this year. But I really like the idea of layering the one, that's the die cut one piece from Hip Kit, and layering it with the flare from the Kit Club, and then maybe matting that card with one of these other two cards. And then I thought, instead of using one of those two cards, maybe what I'll do is I'll mat it on the same paper that the card beside it is already matted on. So that seemed to make good sense to me. So that's what I did. I just cut one of those 4x6 cards down to two 3x4s. And now I'm going to take a little bit off of each of the edges of this 3x4 card that came in the Hip Kit December documented kit. And then I'll just mount it on the background piece, just like that, and place my one and put my flare badge over it like that. And I'm liking how these cards are looking so far. I really like how the pattern on the matting of the No Village card kind of continues into the background of the journal card. That it's sort of discontinued there. Not discontinued, it is continued from one card to the next. So that'll look quite nice placed in two pockets right beside each other. It'll look like the pattern continues, which is nice. So now I'm just placing these letters, and I'm going to use my ruler. I don't know why I bother using my ruler, because it ends up, I never end up placing things more straight when I use my ruler. And so because it's so ineffective, I don't know why I continue to use it for actual ruling purposes. I should really just use it for tearing. But there we go. Now it's pretty straight. No, it's not. I'm going to move those up a little bit. And one of the L's just lost its adhesive backing, so one of those L's is just sitting on the paper instead of being glued down there. So I'm just going to take some little tiny bit. I took a little bit too much. I went a little overboard on the Tombow Mono Multi adhesive, so I'm just using my finger to get up any of the extras there. And now I'll put the N and the O for No Village. And now I'm going to move on to my journaling card. And I'm just having a look at these word and phrase pieces. They're just cut aparts that came in the Hip Kit December documented kit. And I'm cutting out one that says today's story. And it's a little bit too much to layer it up with those other two things, but it looks nice down here at the bottom. And I just don't want to cut my cat, so I had to be a little careful there. She crossed by my workspace. And then I really like this one that says, these are a few of my favorite things, just because they are my favorite things. And I guess the idea is maybe that you don't have to always have your favorite things. You can make do with whatever the season brings you, right? And I'm looking at these washi tape pieces because I'm thinking that these are a few of my favorite things. First of all, I'm thinking that it's going to have to be cut in half in order for it to fit properly. And I'm thinking that those two halves will look nice if they're on a piece of washi tape. So these are washi stickers from Pink Fresh Studio that came in the Hip Kit. And I'm just going to tear a piece that is a little bit wider than the phrases. And I think that just kind of anchors those phrases a little bit. And it also adds a little bit more blue to the page. And now it needs something sparkly besides the gold foil in the centers of those letters. So I'm looking at these gold chipboard sparkly stars from the Freckled Fawn Very Merry kit. And at first I thought about 3, but I can't balance them the right way. So I'm just going to use 2. I'm going to have one be kind of running off the side of the journaling card and one be up beside. These are a few of my favorite things. And so now I'm thinking I'm going to draw out my journaling lines. First, I was going to do my journaling, and then I thought, no, wait, before I do that, I'm just going to, first of all, I'm going to put these down so that I don't lose them anywhere. And while I'm at it, I'll just stick this star in place. And now I'm going to go ahead and do my journaling lines here. I thought about not doing journaling lines, and then I realized that I'm going to be disappointed with this if it's not straight. And so I might as well take the time to just draw out these lines. I'm using an IKEA pencil that Pascal gave me because all my pencils are gone. I don't own any pencils, apparently, which is kind of strange for a scrapbooker. So I'm going to journal right around this flare badge, and that's why I haven't attached it because it's going to be hard to journal with it there, but I'm leaving it in place so that I know where it is going to be so that I don't end up covering up my journaling. And so that flare badge is going to affect the writing on the first and the second lines of the journaling. The journaling says, I love my winter village, but I'm taking a break from it this year to reset this tradition and decide how to get the most joy from it. And I talk a little bit about the rationale behind that in my prompt video, so make sure that you watch that. I think it's called December De-Stressed and Documented Day 1. So I'm going back and I'm outlining exactly where the pencil lines had been drawn. And I'm just using my regular ATG adhesive to stick that flare badge right down there in the gap in my writing. And now I'm using my scissors to cut off the edge of that star. And I really like how these two look together. I think they're going to be pretty cute, but I need to do just a little bit of extra dimension on this one, or I guess extra texture, is to add a little bit of sewing to each one. And that can really take these cards don't have a whole lot on them besides the photo and the title and the journaling. There's not a whole lot of embellishment. And so in that kind of a situation, adding some sewing can really add quite a bit of texture and interest to an otherwise boring-ish type of a card. I just use some Scotch tape. I often use washi tape, but I put the Scotch tape on the back there just to keep it from unraveling. Now I have this little album that I'm keeping my December De-Stressed and Documented in, and it has these pages that have each leaf has 2 3x4 and 2 4x6. So when it's open to a 2-page spread, it ends up being 4 and 4. And so for this particular day, it's taking up 2 cards, and I really like how it looks. I'm just kind of counting to see, like how, if I did that for the whole month, how far into this book I would go, and it wouldn't quite fill up the book if I did that. This is a Becky Higgins book. It's not my favorite book that's out there, but it was in my stash and I got it on sale, and so I'm using it. It is pretty. There are prettier ones out there. So these cards took me about half an hour to make, and that is pretty good, I think. They're nice and plain and not too elaborately decorated or anything, but I really like how they look. My purpose here is to just get it documented. I don't need it to be fancy or breathtaking or anything like that. I am still going to be making 12x12 layouts all throughout the month of December as well. So this is my side project. It's not my main thrust of creativity throughout the month of December. So I hope that you found this helpful to watch or inspiring in some way. If you did, please leave me a comment to let me know, and I'll keep on sharing them. I hope that you all have a really great scrappy week, and I would love to hear how you're documenting December, whether you're going to be following along with some of my prompts, or if you're using somebody else's approach or taking a class, or if you've got your own plan already laid out, or if you're going to wing it. I'd love to hear how everybody out there is tackling their December documentation. So let me know, and have a really great scrappy week.